Hi, in this video, we're going to discuss about SMEs cooperation in Malaysia. First, we will start with introduction of SMEs. Second, financing problems of SMEs. Next, we will look detail about sources of financing of SMEs with pros and cons. And the last, for our disclosure of discussion, we will end up with conclusion.
The definition of SMEs. The definition of SMEs is likely divided into three definitions. They are manufacturing sectors, services, and other sectors, and new definitions. Firstly, for the manufacturing sector, SMEs are defined as firms with sales turnover not exceeding 50 million ringgit or a number of full-time employees not exceeding 200%. Next, the services and others are defined as firms with sales turnover not exceeding 20 million ringgit or full-time employees not exceeding 75%. Besides the new definition of SMEs, all SMEs must be entitled, registered with SSM, Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia or other equivalent bodies.
Now, we go through to the financing problems of SMEs. There are three financing problems, which are lack of cash flow, honest living expenses, and poor planning. First, lack of cash flow. Managing cash flow is a perpetual struggle for most business owners. Having an inadequate cash reserve is the main problem of cash flow. This situation leaves the business unprepared to handle unexpected circumstances and emergencies. Some companies' fees and overhead expense are challenging because their persistence will continuously affect the cash flow until it is corrected. Consequently, SMEs needs to manage their cash flow effectively to endure financial crises that may be faced in the future. Second, honest living expense. Financial stress doesn't affect only startup employees. Problems related to financial management can extend to owners and their families. It is not usual for owners to commit at least some of their personal assets to the development of a new business. Owners themselves often struggle to make ends meet while trying to build a business. Financial difficulties can impact every aspect of a business owner's life, including marital and family relationships. In some cases, entrepreneurs may eventually decide to share the businesses down due to the function and personal interests, or they may be forced to make business decisions on the basis of the short-term profit rather than pursuing long-term and perhaps more lucrative opportunities and strategies. And then lastly is poor planning. No financial projections such as startup costs, operating costs, taxes, and fees, emergency expenses, and estimated revenue. Some entrepreneurs take the incentive to just do it without having a better or good plan before starting a business. It is easy for a business to collapse sometimes before starting the business, so they need to prepare the financial projection before starting a business. When there is the cash needed for the necessary expenses, they are not considered as the business plan.
Assalamualaikum Dr. Najia. My name is Agil Agasa Benjamin Enasi from TAC2202C. We'll present about sources of financing for SME. Now we continue with the sources of financing for SME. There are three types of sources of financing for SME, which are venture capitalists, bank loans, and crowdfunding. Venture capitalists invest large sums of money in return for a share in the firm's equity and also expect a good return on their investment. This source is often most time used in the early stage of developing a new business, where the risk of failure is high, but the possibility earning may well also be high. A bank loan is the amount of money borrowed for a set period with aim of paying back at an agreed date. The repayment will depend on the size, length of the loan, and the rate of interest. The riskier the business, the less likely to be able to borrow, and the higher the interest rate charged. Crowdfunding involves funding a venture by raising finance from a large number of the people, the crowd, and is very often achieved over the internet. The internet platforms are set up and run by moderating organizations who bring together the projector, initiator with the idea and those organizations and individuals who are willing to support the idea. Some crowdfunding is the different platform have different policies with regard to assessing the idea seeking support and checking those willing to provide the finance. Finance provided by crowdfunding may be invested in the debt or the equity of the venture seeking the finance. That's all from me. Thank you.
Moving on to the pros and cons for sources of financing for SMEs. Firstly, the pros for venture capital is there is no obligation for venture capitalists to repay the venture capitalist investors if the startup fails or shut down. Venture capitalists are not responsible for any losses that they incur, but rather the loss of their capital. In other words, venture capitalists should be held accountable for the success of a startup and should be compensated for the failure of their investment. Next, venture capitalists are having a huge network of connection in the business community for the startup to grow and become successful. Venture capital firms have been investing in startups since the early days of their existence, but they are now starting to realize that there is no such thing as a single source of funding. Venture capital firms are not just looking for investors, they want to invest in companies that can help them grow and succeed. Next, the cons is dealing with venture capitalists have a long and difficult process, as it will require drawing up a well-detailed plan, financial projections, and legal requirements on getting to negotiation stage. You may not know what your business model is or how much money you are going to make if you are not prepared. The chance of success in the deal will be low. All these services are to be paid for whether or not the fund was secured. Next, we will go to the pros of bank loan. A bank loan can get you to retain full management and control of your business with no external interference. If you are a small business owner, then it is important that you have the right tools in the right place at the right time. This is where you need to hire an experienced company for managing the bank loans. Other than that, loans do not require giving up part of the business as the case for some investors, but the interest served as the interest will serve as the cost that must be paid. This is why it is important to have a loan in place before you start your business. It will help you to keep your business running smoothly and also ensure that there are no problems with the loan. If you are looking for a loan, then it is always better to go through the bank or other financial institutions. They can provide you with a loan at low rates and thus make sure that it is secured by the right kind of collateral. For the cons, most loans are not flexible, have strict terms and conditions, and have difficulty in making monthly repayment. Hence, it will be causing cash flow problems. The loan is usually given out on the basis of the amount borrowed by you. The lender may also ask for a loan from you if your credit score is low. The third source of financing for SMEs is crowdfunding. The first pros is low overall risk for a potentially high reward. While you lose the administrative fees involved with setting up a crowdfunding campaign, the overall financial risk to your company for a failed campaign is relatively low. If the campaign is successful, it can be a huge financial boost. On Kickstarter, the average campaign raised just shy of 30,000. However, some campaigns raise more than 1 million. In addition, unlike a startup business loan, it doesn't have to repay money earned through a successful crowdfunding campaign, which makes it a lower risk option than a loan. Crowdfunding also helps to avoid giving up equity in your company. Other types of alternative startup funding involve giving up a portion of the equity in your company for funding. Most types of crowdfunding allow you to give rewards rather than give up equity. This keeps you from taking on partners who might have different goals and ideas about your business, and it allows you to benefit completely from any profits your business earns. If you decide to use equity crowdfunding, remember that certain laws govern this transaction. Consult a legal professional before proceeding with equity crowdfunding. The third pros of crowdfunding is to establish audience with centralized communication. The reach of your company's social media is limited to your current followers. When you start a crowdfunding campaign, established users can search and find your product or service. then learn more about it. In addition, it gives you a centralized location for updates on your campaign. You won't have to send out emails or messages every time there is an update. This can save you a lot of time and money. Let's go to the cons of crowdfunding. Crowdfunding has low success rate. The majority of crowdfunding campaigns fail to meet funding goals. On Kickstarter, only 39% of crowdfunding campaigns were funded successfully. Although campaigns that crossed the 20% funded threshold were successful 78% of the time. Many factors contribute to the lack of success, including poorly planned or timed campaigns and a lack of a good crowdfunding business plan. Second cause of crowdfunding is upfront costs are expensive. The setup cost for running a crowdfunding campaign can be very expensive. It will have to prepare marketing, logos, promotions, and ads for the campaign. These are things to budget for before launching the campaign, because if it fails, it won't be able to get that money back. The last cause is difficulty getting noticed. Crowdfunding campaigns aren't found automatically by investors because they use one of the big crowdfunding platforms.
Conclusion. To conclude the overall discussion, SMEs are crucial for social stability, innovation, inclusive growth, and the reduction of poverty, since they frequently serve as the backbone of the middle class.